Every game is a big game when it's Wild hockey. Feel the intensity and excitement at Grand Casino Arena this season. Get your tickets today, wild.com/tickets, wild.com/tickets.
What does Luger do now if he's a former U.S. attorney? When you come back from the break, can you please mention what he does now? What do you do now, Andy Luger?
Really? Is that a question?
That is a question. Yeah, he's asking. He's curious. I don't think it's meant as an accusation. I think he's just, okay, what do you do now that you're out of that job?
I've got a law firm. I've got clients.
Okay.
I get up every morning. I work out. I go to my office.
Go to the hockey game?
I take my golf lessons, which I'm very, very excited about.
All right.
And I'm doing everything I can behind the scenes to help people think through, a way out of this. And, some of my advice gets taken and a lot does not.
Is Tom Holman part of the solution? Do you think he is, in good faith, attempting to get this to a better place?
Yes, in part because I think from what I know, I don't know him, but law enforcement people who know him say yes. But the more important piece is the White House wants it done. And, whatever tweet anybody makes at, midnight, it doesn't matter. They want this done. They need this done. If this is a football game, it's 41-0 and we're in the fourth quarter. They're losing. Now, they inflicted incredible damage, in my view, and obviously 2 people have died, on our city, on our state, on our psyche, on who we are, for nothing, for no reason. Even if you believe in the deportation mission, this was the wrong way to do it. They've got to get out of here because it ain't working, and they know it. And I've heard that from Republicans.
Texter from 6763 area code. Holman is saying among the arrested, 14 convicted of homicide, 139 assault, 87 sex offenders, 28 gang members, etc. Luger seems to indicate crimes by illegal immigrants is nearly non-existent, while Trump would be at the other extreme, vocally at least. Is the reality somewhere in between?
It's always in between. I'm not saying it's non-existent. I'm saying that a lot of the people they claim they're picking up turn out to have been people who were in state prison.
Right, exactly.
And so these numbers and these claims, I can't go through them one by one. I don't have the data. All I know is a very mild-mannered, highly professional corrections department commissioner stood up and said, you see all those faces and you see all those names. Those people were in state prison. We handed them over to ICE. They didn't need to bring anybody here to do it. So are there illegal immigrants who commit terrible crimes? Absolutely. Is that the number one? Is that the number 10, number 20 or 30 priority? That's not what I heard from law enforcement when I was U.S. attorney. That's not what I'm hearing from law enforcement now. Guess what we're not doing right now? We're not going after the carjackers, shooters, gang members who I guarantee you are out there in this, in this missing law enforcement time period.
This came in much earlier. Tim from Egan, will you please ask Mr. Luger for his response to Chris Maddle, who appeared the day after him last week? Maddle seemed fairly out of touch with his comments about how the state should work with the federal government. We aren't dealing with a normal federal government. He may be loading, stacking the deck. That may be music to your ears. I know you heard some of what, I think eventually you heard everything what Chris said. And let's remember, ultimately, to me, the overarching message from Chris was, I can't run as a Republican as long as the National Republican Party continues to take Minneapolis, especially, and outlying areas in some cases, down this road, doing, in his mind, what are illegal and unconstitutional things. I think you might agree with him on that. There might be some other things where you would disagree.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty much 40-40-20. 40% I agree with him vehemently, 40% I disagree with him vehemently, and 20% we should go have lunch. So, yes, God bless the guy for running. I respect anybody who puts their hat in the ring, and God bless him for, on principle stepping out for reasons I agree with, although I was kind of looking forward to Chris as a gubernatorial. I've known Chris for, 25, 30 years. Great lawyer, brilliant mind, terrific in front of a jury. One of the...
He was on CNN the other night. We'll talk about that later.
Terrific in front of a jury. Let's stick with that. I would, if I needed a lawyer or my best friend needed a lawyer, there'd be 3 people I would call. One of them would be Chris. 5 before we lost Joe and Ron Rosenbaum. Yeah. So, he's one of them, and I respect him. Where I think he was dead wrong on the list of areas, I think he was dead wrong. That 40% was why this is happening. It's not in my strong opinion, and pretty close to fact, if you ask me. It's not happening because Tim Walz wasn't nice to Trump, and they kept upping the ante. I mean, Tim was saying they're here because our leaders, we're poking the bear. That's not why we're here. They're here because they needed a place to test this out. They needed a place to go en masse, try to take over, try to, sort of do this mass deportation in a way that terrorizes people. And they thought Minnesota would be a good place to start. The hook for it wasn't Tim Walz. The hook for it was supposedly the fraud case. So we're going to invade Minnesota with fraud investigators, and we're going to go after Somalis and get them out of the country. That was the first iteration.
That was the rhetoric, absolutely.
And then it went from there. So I think this is, like all nonsense to think that, I'm mad at, Walz, I'm mad at this one, I'm mad at that one. We were just like the next Greenland. And I think that there'll be another state maybe after us. They'll try to do it better because they learn. But in the meantime, they've left rubble behind.
What are you hearing on what's happening on the streets? Because we had a stretch of time where we felt like every day there was a passion play playing out on the streets where there'd be these, face-to-face confrontations, whistles, chances that something's going to escalate into something really dangerous while these ICE enterprises are taking place. Are we seeing less of those, or are we just not paying as close attention? Or because I don't see as much reporting video as we've had before. So does that mean there is at least a significant style change, or are they just being sneakier about it?
No, I think what we're really seeing on the streets, and I hear it from everybody, is people supporting other people. Moms going to teachers' homes and driving them to school because the teachers are afraid to drive to school on their own. Others picking up kids and bringing them to school. I think you're seeing more of a coordinated, organized, let's help each other out versus, on the street with whistles, although I don't think that's gone. I think you're also seeing a downsizing of the street level activity because Homan doesn't buy that. That's not a Homan thing. Let's go out in the streets and grab people out of their cars who look, black or brown. I believe at least that he doesn't believe in that. He does believe in mass deportation. He and I part company on a lot of things. But the kind of tactics that were going on here in the streets, I think he was brought here in part to say we don't do that anymore. Or we do a lot less of it.
I sent Andy a story to you earlier from City Journal, which is definitely right of center. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to go out on a limb there. That, by the way, doesn't disqualify it because there's plenty of left of center ones as well.
Yep.
And I'm going to read what a friend of the program wrote. This was as he was reading the story, that it was basically the reporter, whatever you think of his own political predilections, that basically suggesting via just being in the streets and reporting stuff is that this neighbors network, that it was in some cases a lot more organized and a lot more systematic than we want to think, as in, well, this grassroots rebellion and reaction to what is taking place here, that perhaps there is a professional aspect to it and maybe not all local activists as well. So what did you make of the story, and what do you say to that possibility? Does that change anything about what's going on in the streets, in your opinion?
It doesn't, and here's why. I read this. Thank you for sending me the story. I don't know,
right.
And I don't care that they're right of center or left of center. It's more.
No, you usually don't.
Are you telling the truth or not? And that's the journal that came up with the Al-Shabaab, ridiculous. All the feeding our future money was going to Al-Shabaab, which is just false. So what I do know from playing a role in the aftermath of a lot of large protests is that both things are typically true. There are most of the people who go to and law enforcement will tell you this. Most of the people who go to these protests are going, it's grassroots, it's spontaneous. I want to be there. It's, your relative, my relative, people who don't throw bombs. There is almost always an element, and it happens on the right and the left. I've seen it more on the left, where they want to come in and turn it violent. And one example was the mess we had in St. Paul at the Republican National Convention in 2008. It was a disaster. I was hired pro bono hired by the mayor of me and Tom Heffelfinger to do an investigation of what went wrong. Why did we almost have the streets of St. Paul taken over? And what we learned through very hard work over a series of months, people came in from outside. They were organized. They have tactics. They kind of took over the otherwise peaceful protests, and nobody knew how to stop them. There was nobody knew what to make of this. Happens all the time. Some of that is probably happening here. I've heard about it from law enforcement. I don't know if it's as great, but I wouldn't condemn, we used to call, when I was a kid, we used to call them little old ladies in tennis shoes. I don't know what you called them, but people who are honestly out there because they're passionate about what they're doing wouldn't hurt a fly. They've got whistles and this is something, but they believe in it. Don't denigrate them.
Well, part of my comeback to that question too would be, this a lot better than I, but I would say, let's say for the sake of argument, it's true. As you said, it's a component. It may be part of it, but that's not that unusual, and that doesn't necessarily take away from the cause itself and why you could argue both components are here in the position that they're in. And does that mean there's going to be some people who strategize, we got to figure it out. We're going to go, you think we should only go to here? We're going to go 3 steps beyond that. I don't recommend it. I doubt you recommend it, but it doesn't take away from the cause itself. Correct?
What's the Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fight?
Yeah.
You guys came here, invaded, and with 3,000 people, many of whom seem to have no training, weapons and masks, you started this. You don't get to say, and you're bad people, because you didn't react the way we would have liked you to react. I get that. And I don't like violence in any form, any way. I never condone it. But it's a little two-faced to me.
Why the need for signal chat then if it's all grassroots? This is according to one of our texters.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I've never been, I don't know what I've never been on a signal chat. All I know is.
You sure?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You're right.
Under oath? You're not under oath.
I'm not under oath. So when I'm under oath, we'll ask me again.
Yeah.
I don't know. People, I have a lot of friends who tell me that they want to be on this stuff and they're revved up. They've never done anything like this in their lives. So I don't hold it against them. I think I'm proud of Minnesota and I'm proud of what we've done because I think we showed the world this won't work. Some people, this won't work.
Let me give you an example. To me, Mattel is one example. Who's the judge? Schultz.
Pat Schultz.
Is another one, I think, appointed by W, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
I think he worked with Scalia at one point, did he not?
Yeah,
he's not exactly...
He's our chief judge.
Activist, left-winger.
Chris and I know him very well.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But let me throw another...
He's very, very conservative.
Let me throw another name into the mix. Tim Mahoney, who owns, what's the name of I'm terrible with names, what's the iconic bar downtown Minneapolis? It's been there forever. If Garzi was here, he'd know. He knows him very, very well. He'll come to me in a minute.
I thought that was Rose.
People will text, once upon a time, people will text me for it.
All right.
So when I listened he was on with my former partner, Chad Hartman, the other day. And look, I mean, I've heard him on other issues, like when there have been crime issues in Minneapolis. He ain't exactly the best friend to Jacob Fry, to the city council. He's pretty tough and pretty conservative on those areas and has been very vocal in the past. And you know what he's saying right now?
No, what did he say?
What the hell is going on in my town? He said, I've got people who've worked for me for 5, 6, 7, 10 years that are afraid to come in, afraid to just basically know, well, what's my strategy of getting out of here? He also made it sound like at the St. Paul location that he ended up actually sort of being eyed. And his whole, leaving aside, he got into the economic concerns, because that's part of it for any business owner. But leaving that aside, he's just yelling out as a guy, again, who's not a hardcore lefty in any way, shape, or form, what are we doing to people who are just trying to live? Yeah. That's it. And I don't know how many more examples of those folks need. Maybe it's not going to matter how many there are. But to me, those are the telltale signs to me that this is beyond. It's not excusable. It cannot be explained away. And when you're getting it from people who are not, generally speaking, anti-government, or in some cases are very conservative, and they're going, well, what kind of reality are we living in right now? That should tell us something, should it not?
Absolutely. And Tim, I know Tim quite well, and he's
The Loon. I'm sorry, the Loon Cafe. I can't even believe I couldn't remember the Loon. I've been there a million times, but go ahead.
All right. He's a great guy. He's super smart. And, conservative typically means I believe in the law. I believe in the Constitution. I don't believe in federal government intrusion in my lives. So I've been telling people I'm a conservative these days or a libertarian.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is, but it's nothing. It's not the Republican conservative hands off, don't tread on me mentality, because it's not. It's tread on me.
Do you know anything about what's going on inside the Whipple building? I ask because I'm looking at a KSTP.com story, and it quotes an individual named Hani Dugloff, Duglof, and he says he's seen the inside from a basement holding cell. They shackled my legs. They put me in a cell with about 30 people in that cell. Detained by ICE agents on Jan 10, blocked by 2 SUVs while driving in Wisconsin to make food deliveries. And there's background about the brother. He and his brother both having a rare medical condition, and that the conditions inside are deplorable and beyond the pale. So I don't know. I mean, I know there's been some effort. I think there's a congresswoman, I guess in this case, who's either been in or is trying to get in as well. Have you heard what's going on inside Whipple?
No, I've heard what everybody else has heard, but here's why it doesn't surprise me. If you want to deport 10 or 20 million people in the United States, and that's your mission, and then that's what you ran on, and you say, I ran on this, I got elected, and you don't have a plan. So, it's not like you press a button and people will show up in Guatemala. You got to find them. You got to arrest them. You got to, get them on a plane. You got to house them. You got to feed them. There's no plan for that. And so hearing from detainees what it was like is awful and horrifying, but not surprising because they didn't have a plan. They didn't have a plan for what it would mean for the courts. They didn't have a plan for what it would mean for the U.S. Attorney's Office. So it's all very well and good to have a bumper sticker as your campaign theme, but then what are you going to do? And now we're seeing it.
Comments, I think, from a guy Judge Jerry Blackwell. You cannot detain first and sort out lawful authority later, which is speaking to your point. A continued detention is not lawful just because an operation has expanded beyond the government's capacity to execute it lawfully. And that gets back to, again, even if you believe it's righteous, if you do not have the hardware and the machinery in place, which clearly was not in place because this is unprecedented, then you got no chance to pull off what you think you absolutely are ordained to pull off.
You have to know what you're doing. You have to understand the effect everything was going to have. So when we decided we were going to target the highs and the lows on the north side, and I thought we would get to 100, we did. First, I went to the public defender's office, the federal defender's office. I went to the judges. I went to the court system, and I said, you're going to start seeing massive gang cases. Everybody's going to need a lawyer. Everybody's going to need a place to stay. We're doing this. I'm not going to tell you the names, obviously, but we're going to work with you because you got to get ready for it. And somebody's going to have to try all those cases. The marshals, everybody is involved in this. If you're going to execute on a mass plan, you better have a how to execute. And if you don't, then you're going to violate people's rights. You're going to make terrible mistakes. And that's what's happened. And I keep coming back. None of this was necessary. The state was doing everything right. The counties could have been talked to on the front end instead of the back. And we never needed people running around grabbing disabled women out of cars. and asking people, are you here legally or not? Because you still don't sound like it.
Let me ask you as we wrap up a Minneapolis police question. I think I texted this to you a while ago. Because one of the things that's been discussed is, all right, if you have these face-to-face encounters, and maybe there are fewer of them, and that in itself is a good thing. Mm-hmm. But as long as they're going on, they're all fraught with incredible risk. At any moment, somebody steps over the line, and then you got potentially a conflagration. So part of the thing that's been discussed is there any sentiment within the police department to say that we are willing to set up what would be called a perimeter, not to participate in the raid, but to set up a buffer so that there is a distance between, so we don't have this face-to-face thing where people are wandering around on top of each other in the streets. Is that viable? Is that something Minneapolis has any appetite to do? Do you think it would be helpful, or are we past that because of the lack of trust about what the actual arrests are about?
A little of all the above. One, I don't think it's viable. I don't think people would stand for it, and you'd have even more of a riot. Two, I think there are mixed feelings within the police department about that. I will tell you from my conversations, everybody's exhausted. So all leave has been canceled. All vacations, everybody's overtime, everybody's working double, triple shifts. Everybody's exhausted. That's not a prescription for safety. And I don't think that would work. I think that what you would end up with is worse interactions than better. I think in a fantasy world, that might sound great. Not on the streets of Minneapolis with the whistles and not after the shootings. It's hard to put that genie back in the bottle. I don't think we're going to see much of it right now because I do think the de-escalation is happening. But I think we got a great police department. I think we have a terrific police chief. They're working around the clock. I talk to them. Obviously, there are different people. Chris Maddow talks to some. I talk to others. Right. But no, I don't think that was I think it sounds good, but in reality, I don't think it was ever practical.
Today is February 5th. Do you believe there's a good chance, a decent chance, any chance that, let's just say by March 1, that this is over?
Yes. Now, you said good, decent, any. So you gave me
I did give you a lot of license. Right. There, a lot of room.
I think there's a decent chance this is over by March 1. Yes. And look, I could be dead wrong, but I really think the administration sees this as a failure and needs to find a way out. And people are working in good faith on finding a way out, and good for them. One way or the other, this is over. And thank God.
I think we'll all agree to that. Thanks for coming in. We'll see you soon. We'll see you at the next. You going to a Wild game next, or maybe you could? What you should do? They have these deals where you have the opportunity to ride in the Zamboni between periods. I mean, you could wave to your constituents, the whole bit. What do you think? Maybe even former clients of yours.
I think there's 1 million people in the state of Minnesota who deserve to ride on a Zamboni before
you. Yeah.
So when they're all done, I'll hop on.
How about Target Center? Wolves game? You ever go to the Wolves?
No, yeah, I go to the Wolves.
You do go to the Wolves.
It's too loud. It's just, you can't hear yourself thinking.
Well, yeah, place. Now you're showing. Yeah, you're acting old there.
I'm not.
I don't disagree with you, but that ship has sailed, man. The notion that you could have quiet times. There's so little confidence in the attention span of the average fan who goes now. We got to keep. They'll nod off. We have to keep stuff going. The beat's got the bass. The basso profundo beat has to keep going through, not only actually during breaks, but even during the game. Now you get music.
I remember watching Willis Reed talking to Lou Alcindor, and you could hear what they were saying.
Yeah, right. Those are great memories and good names from the past. That's for sure.
If you don't have good memories, what do you got?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Former U.S. Attorney Andy Luger. Do you want to put a grant? Do we have bonus bucks right now?
We do.
Late than ever.
Yeah, the fan wants to give you a shot to win bonus bucks in the National Cash Contest at KFAN.com. The keyword this hour is pay. The keyword pay, KFAN.com, keyword pay.
Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
the top 5 at 5. It's not even the 520 Sports Fix. It's the 532 Sports Fix. But it's all, for the same, I think, worthy cause. And we got plenty of time because we're guest-free the rest of the way. Blakemore is in for Guardsy today. Where would you like to begin? I think I kind of know, but nevertheless, I'll pretend. I'll play along. Where would you like to start?
I don't know. Where?
Time now for the obligatory Kevin Fallness Minnesota Wild mention.
It feels, I'm guessing, very, once again, left out. Sorry for himself because early we talked Wolves trade. We have not even acknowledged. Well, I think I did acknowledge the Wild won early. But beyond that, have said nothing beyond that. So we head to the break with the second best record, or the second most points in all of the National Hockey League. Is that correct?
It's not bad. Here's how the winner sounded in Nashville.
Under a minute left in the extra session. Kirill Kaprizov, 14 career overtime winners, as I mentioned earlier, 4 of them this year. They'll try an up-ice pass. It's Boldy darting in. Boldy cross-ice. Spurgeon a shot. He scores! Jared Spurgeon wins it in overtime! 9th overtime win of the year for the Wild. 5 straight in the win column as they hit the Olympic break as the captain beats Soros. It's 6-5. The victory tonight for Minnesota.
You heard right here on the Fan. So that's it. You go into the Olympic break. You're on a high, second best record, 5 wins in a row. Overtime, it doesn't concern me a bit how many of these games are going to overtime. Yeah, it stinks on the broadcasting side that you got to scramble a little bit. But from a hockey perspective, you know what they call a overtime win in the playoffs?
No.
A win. It doesn't matter.
That's true.
So we'll take it. I couldn't be a better time to be a Wild fan right now. This may be the most excited I've been probably since the Fiala-Kaprizov combo year. That team was pretty good.
They were pretty good.
I think this team's better.
Well, and again, about 2 weeks ago, I was talking about how important it is, I thought, to go strong into the break. And it's not like if they hadn't, the season would have been over. But to me, it's the perfect way to go into the break. You're feeling good about yourselves. You've pretty much maximized your position as much as one can, other than the fact that, the Lanch of the Lanch. And you have done everything humanly possible in your power as a team, and you could argue even as a coach, to tell Bill Guerin, go get somebody, man. Go ahead. Add to it. Because that, to me, and Guerin and I talked about this the last time he was on, I think it was Monday, that from his perspective, it doesn't mean you're going to do something stupid because they're playing well, but I think it does encourage the notion that a team plays well and you'd like to reward it because you'd like to say, all right, if we get the right piece, who's to say how far this thing can go? If you're playing at an average level or even a dysfunctional level, I think it's a lot harder to convince yourself that it's worth giving up a lot to get another piece because you say, well, what's this really going to do? Because our core hasn't come together. The core of this team, after one big deal, has absolutely come together, put themselves in a very, shall we say, prosperous position as we start. And now you just hope and pray nobody gets hurt, obviously.
Yeah.
And you hope and pray that you're not flat coming out of it. But every good team is going to have to be dealing with that, so now it's full speed ahead.
And of course, the first game after the Olympic break,
Lanch,
right? Denver. Yeah.
And then I think we looked it up the other day. There's 2 of them in Denver. Like within the first 3 weeks. Yeah, you're right. I think we're done with them here.
On the other side, your Timberwolves.
Until the postseason.
Well, you never know until the second round. Think about it.
That's true. That's the sad part about it. You're right.
Your Timberwolves, they make a big move today. They didn't get Giannis, which the Bucks kind of trolled everyone, and Giannis tweeted out the "I'm not leaving" meme, which is funny because it gets reported that he kind of wanted out, but then maybe that was all fake. Anyways, doesn't matter. This is the first time I'm saying this name out loud. Ayo Dosunmu. Is it Ayo?
Ayo.
Okay,
that's
good.
how it's pronounced. Ayo, correct.
I'm told that this is a very quality move, and we should be excited about it.
I think it's a sneaky, really good move. I say sneaky because it's not like when people are saying, okay, who are the best names that might be available at the trade deadline? His isn't at the top of the list. But I will tell you, listening to a few national people, they say, this guy's a good player. And I'll go back to what I said first hour when we discussed this in depth, first with Joe Colley, who's covered Ayo Dosunmu for ever since he was drafted by the Bulls out of the second round, I might add, several years ago. Joe Colley is his name, and then we talked with Johnny Athletic at 3:30. He's the kind of player that if he's playing on a mediocre team, which the Bulls have kind of been, you kind of go, okay, yeah, it looks kind of nice. He's got some nice numbers, but okay. But also, if the team he joins is good, I think you'll notice. It's easier to notice the good things he can do because I think he can help a good team win. And in this case, this isn't brain surgery. The Wolves have almost no bench, no consistent scoring off the bench. So if he can come close to averaging what he did in Chicago this year, which is 15 points a game, you got something. You now have some ability to say, well, we lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but now we got a facsimile thereof. And the other thing that is quite attractive about him is he's a two-way player. He's probably he is a better defensive player than Kobe White. He's not overall, I think, as accomplished an offensive player as Kobe, but he's a better two-way player. He's tough. He guards. He's big. And there's debate on how much you want him running the show. Colley thinks he can. Not for a whole game, but for stretches in a game. But more importantly, he's shooting over 50%, shooting something like he's over 40% from three, I think 45%. So I like the move, definitely. And even before I said, regardless of Giannis, you have to get somebody who can improve your bench. You got to get a wing player who can score. In a perfect world, he can also handle the ball and run your offense. He may not be able to do that as much as I'd like, but he can do those other things. And he guards. And as Johnny said, he plays with an edge. This is a team that sometimes gets, they get bored and they get soft. He's a guy who tends to be in people's faces all of the time.
Here's the stat you're referring to. There are two players in the NBA with both of these things, 15 or more points per game and 45 or more three-point percentage. Those two players, Jaden McDaniels, Ayo Dosunmu.
Found the stat. Huh?
Pretty good
for you. Yeah,
so
nicely done.
We'll go on to the Golden Gophers, who head coach Nico Medved appeared on the show. Also, $10 tickets. Get it on Sunday. Fill that barn against Maryland. They had the big win. Finally hold on to a lead. It's just felt like you're in a whole bunch of games, but don't feel like you can just cross over that line. Finally get one done in a huge fashion against number 10 Michigan State. 76-73 your final, and a court storm at the barn.
We had a nice chat with Nico, not just about his team that came perilously close to blowing it again last night, but did find a way to hold on against the 10th rated Spartans. But also about an absolutely terrific piece that Chip Scoggins wrote about the Medved family saga, where he came from out of World War II, the Medved family, and the story of how his family it goes from World War II ravaged community to one of those displaced persons camp in, I think it was Austria, for like 5 years until they're able to get themselves across the pond, sponsored by 3 Slovenian women in northern Minnesota. And the rest is history. We also were reminded that Nico wanted to be a hockey player. That's what he wanted to do, and he was good at it, but the family basically said, too expensive, we're bored with it, maybe you want to be a basketball guy. And his dad has had season tickets at the barn for 55 years. So read the story. If you missed the interview, listen to the interview later, podcastable, downloadable.
Usually, there was a time, maybe 2 years ago, when I'd find any excuse to bring up the Loons and Minnesota United on Top 5 at 5.
I'm glad you brought this up.
Well, it's a massive deal. So it just got the...
Is it done?
I see that it got the here we go from soccer's Shams or Adam Schefter, Fabrizio Romano.
All right.
His little catchphrase is here we go when something gets done. So here is the tweet. Hold on, let me pull it up. Here we go. James, spelled James, but James Rodriguez to Minnesota United. Here we go. Verbal agreement in place for the Colombian star. Now, hand up. I'm not an elite James Rodriguez mind. Lavelle called me when it was being brought up, and I thought, that's great. I even told him, I can't wait. Didn't know much about him. He's 34, so he's definitely on the back nine. But he is, I'm reading,
Is he injury prone?
I'm not sure,
right.
but I'll say this. He is among the top 15 most followed athletes in the world on Instagram with 50 million followers. So this guy is well known
Well, you're
worldwide.
Mr. Soccer, and you've never heard of him?
Well, his big, huge run that people talk about is a 2014 World Cup. I was barely even watching back then. That was 12 years ago. So he had a legendary run. He's played for big clubs. He's played for Real Madrid, and I'm told he's still a good player as it is now. But part of me is it proves that we are what we are in the MLS, which is if you're in the
club.
Yeah, if you're on the back nine of your career.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
you come here. And also, it's hard for me to get excited when you lose your franchise keeper, you lose your coach who we loved, you lose a couple guys up front. But I'm told he still can play with the best of them and wants a good shot at the World Cup. So big signing definitely the biggest signing in Loon's history.
That's not going on much of a limb, is it?
Well, yeah,
that's part of it.
But it is a big name.
All right, is that 5?
It's 4, but that's fine.
Yeah, we can extend. Like I said, we're guest free the rest of the way. Let's get caught up on a very busy day on the program. We'll get to some texts that have come in via the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Maybe some Wolves reaction. Maybe some hockey reaction. How happy, how encouraged are you heading into the break? And I think the U.S. women, in fact, this is what Russo's covering. I think they had their first prelim game.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. Maybe we'll give a couple details on that. Indeed, I think another team, wasn't the Finnish team had to sit out because of their quarantine with some kind of a norovirus kind of a thing? I hope that doesn't spread in the Olympic Village. We'll get to that and some other matters when we return. Well, I'm going to need some help on this story. I've embargoed it for the final, 40 minutes or so of the broadcast. We're going the distance, right, till 6:30 tonight? Is that correct,
yes.
Blakemore?
Yep.
Because I didn't exactly know how to introduce this story, and I wanted to give others an opportunity to vet it and perhaps even then be in position where they can react to it with some measure of authority. Let me say this on the front end, this is not out of the Onion. This is not from any sort of fake The Athletic account. This seems to be the real deal, and it is Winter Olympics related. Apparently, Winter Olympic officials are investigating the possibility that ski jumpers are injecting their penises with hyaluronic, am I pronouncing that right? Hyaluronic acid in order to gain extra flight, so to speak. Claims were originally reported in the German newspaper Bild in January on the eve of the latest Winter Olympics in Italy and subsequently addressed by the World Anti-Doping Agency president during a press conference. There is apparently science, according to the Athletic guy, behind the allegations. Don't shoot the messenger, man. I'm just reading it, okay?
I like that package.
Injecting the penis with acid would increase its size and give the ski jumpers bigger genitalia at the point their suits are measured by 3D scanners. Temporarily enhanced measurements would theoretically mean athletes being given a bigger, looser suit. And like a sail catching wind, could then allow them to make longer jumps. Research from the scientific journal Frontiers, published last October, said that a 2-centimeter change in a suit represented an extra 5.8 meters in the length of a jump. A doctor named Dr. Cameron Karim, a senior consultant at something called the Maria Hilf Hospital in Krefeld, or is it Krefeld, says, it is possible to achieve a temporary visual thickening of the penis by injecting paraffin or hyaluronic acid. No specific athletes have been accused of the practice, but WADA has vowed to investigate if it is presented with evidence of wrongdoing. So I guess this is the shot across the bow. If you're thinking about it, of injecting, we're watching you, man. We're aware of what the objective is in taking this particular approach. Now, among, I think, my questions would be the pain of it, of the injection, among other things. I'm not aware of the details of ski jumping, how it can improve. If anything was to come to the surface, we would look at anything if it is actually doping related. That's according to the Director General of WADA. We don't do other means of enhancing performance, but our list committee would certainly look into whether this would fall into this category. WADA president Witold Banka told the same news conference, ski jumping is very popular in Poland, which is his home country. So I promise you, I'm going to look at it. Both Banka and Nigley seemed more amused and confused than outraged by the suggestions of improper practice. The bill's claims came at a challenging moment for ski jumping. You'll recall, I think we talked about this, 18-month bans were handed out to 2 disgraced coaches and an equipment manager of Norway's ski jumping team January 15 after it was found they had manipulated the suits of the team's best jumpers in order to gain an advantage. So this is, I guess, all about the suit, once again, and how you fill out the suit, so to speak. In this case, because I think we talked about this, a whistleblower had filmed the head coach Magnus Brevig and Adrian Littleton, the team's suit technician, inserting illegal stitching into the crotch area. This is very different than injecting into the penis. Inserting illegal stitching into the crotch area following a previous inspection by officials. The changes that amounted to cheating were filmed behind a curtain and uploaded anonymously to YouTube. They served to make the suits larger and more aerodynamic, thus enabling greater jumps. So it's all about the aerodynamic aspect of it. That's, I guess, the objective. And it's further proof that no stone shall go unturned in the effort to find some way to gain any sort of, dare I say it, measurable advantage. And like I said, I'm just reading it. Anybody has got some insight on this? I know the cheap shots, and I know this, the play on words and all that. I'm looking actually for some scientists who might be able to bring some measure of serious analysis to its face. Certainly appears to be onion material, certainly appears to be done as a society material as well. Dr. Phil has checked in, quoting Peter Bursich. Well, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Maybe that would be the Bursich comeback to these sort of injection techniques. But this story is one that I didn't see coming down the pike. Now, somebody's texted, is the morning show aware of this conversation to gather audio? I'm sure if it maybe it broke this morning. I don't know. Because if it did, I'm guessing they went 3 hours on it, right? If not more. But if they didn't have it, if it didn't break until later in the day, my guess is it might be part of the conversation on tomorrow's power trip, don't you think?
Could be. Yeah, I think it's likely.
Especially early?
Yeah.
Don't you think
maybe that first segment.
Yeah. That's it. Somebody asks, why don't they just take Blue Chew? Interesting point. Good question. I don't know. Maybe some of them have. So we have, this would be, somebody's already come up with, we've had Deflategate, right? This would be classified as Inflategate, wouldn't it? This would be Inflategate, 2026. So we'll see if this shot across the bow discourages folks who are going to do it. But then there's the question of, is this a banned substance? In other words, in order to test for it, you'd have to have this as a banned substance. Is it banned? And by the way, what did I call what this is? Hold on a second. The name of the product. Hold on a second. Let me go back. Let me scroll back. Yeah, to the beginning of this story. It's called hyaluronic acid. Now, what else is hyaluronic acid used for? You look up the term HYALURONIC ONIC. Hyaluronic
It is.
acid. What does it say?
This is what the AI overlords say. I'm not even going to try to say that. Is a natural gooey substance found in skin, joints, and connective tissues that binds to water up to 1,000 times its weight to provide hydration, elasticity, and lubrication.
That's bingo.
Yeah.
That's it. There it is. It all seems to fit. Here's what I want to know. Who had the sort of imagination in the ski jumping community to say, you know what we'll do? We got caught on adding material to the crotch area. That's over with. That
the old
dream is
stuffing
died.
the sock trick is dead.
It's dead.
Yeah.
So what else how about injecting? I mean, who was first to get here? And people ask me, why do you like the Winter Olympics so much? Are you kidding me? Stories like these. Not to mention then the more esoteric stories, but this one's in its own way quite esoteric. Top of the hour break. We'll get to some texts and a couple other lessons from the Wolves trade today. They didn't get the big fish, but they got, I think, they made the move that I think, I'll congratulate them for it, but I think they were required to do to give themselves an honest chance to actually go anyplace in 2025. Stay tuned.
Bonus Box is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. It's every hour from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. Then our keywords, learn more at KFAN.com.
Back, final half hour of the Thursday edition of the program. We do believe Sean Salisbury may join us tomorrow. That's the hope at this point. Generally a Thursday guest, and I'm guessing this might be our last Salisbury appearance for this year. His schedule's gotten busier, but we're towards the end anyway. But I'd love to preview Super Bowl 60 and get his reaction to the Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah news, because I've not heard if he's weighed in on any of that and sort of where the Vikings are and how they might move forward. But that is hopefully tomorrow. We will have prediction segment tomorrow because it's Super Bowl Friday. And we expect Gessling and Lavelle as well. We did mention the U.S. women they had their first prelim game, correct, in women's ice hockey, and they won it. They dominated. Was it Chechnya? No, Chechnya. I think it's how it's pronounced, isn't it?
Yes.
And then they win like 5-1?
5-1 the final.
5-1 was the final, okay. And then I mentioned...
Spoiler alert for people watching on TV right now.
You're right. I just angered some of them. You're right. The Finnish team, I think, was mulling over a forfeit. I don't know what the final resolution there was, but apparently they were quarantined with some bad virus. Is it a rotavirus? Is that what we call it in the business? That's what I saw, and I think they're obviously trying to make sure it doesn't get spread around the Olympic Village community. But that was one of the stories that was emerging yesterday morning. Opening ceremonies then tomorrow night? Usually they're on Friday.
I've always thought that was weird that they have events before the opening ceremony.
I think what it is they just have so much to get in.
Yeah.
And only so much room, so they just have to, occasionally there's a little prelim action that takes place before. When's the first men's hockey game? Do you know? Do you remember?
I just looked that up. It's a while.
Oh, okay. It's not.
I think it's on like the 12th off the top of my head.
All right.
It is the 12th against Latvia.
All right. We'll try to check in. We'll definitely check in with Russo at some point as well. Somebody had texted much earlier in the program. Did I favorite it or not? I don't think I did. I didn't. But they said, well, doesn't Tim Connolly need to be criticized for the Rob Dillingham pick? And I said, yeah, I don't even think at this point he would disagree with that. When you ambitiously move up, give up a 1 to do it, I believe an unprotected 1, and you get almost nothing out of him in 2 years, then you didn't get what you thought. Obviously, when you move up that big or that ambitiously, that aggressively, you expect that player to help you, if not in year 1, in year 2. And at times I felt like it might have been worse year 2 than year 1. On the other hand, you could say, well, what do the best executives do? They make the best out of a bad decision or a bad situation. And I think what Conley concluded was that my guess is in his mind, he hasn't given up on the possibility that Dillingham can be a viable NBA player. But I think what he realized is it ain't going to happen here because Finchie is just not playing him. He doesn't let him play through mistakes, and it's harder to ask a coach of a team that's made it to the NBA Final Four 2 straight years and has aspirations to get at least that far again, if not further, to play him through the mistakes. They feel like there's too much to lose. So my guess is he said, all right, if he hasn't shown enough to convince Finchie to play him, and we need somebody to come off the bench to be a factor for us, and he's one of the pieces we can use as a chip to get a player who might help us immediately, then I got to do it. So to me, yeah, there's no question that he should be criticized for the pick. I, by the way, applauded that pick. I thought it was a great idea. And I think a lot of people around the league thought so as well. Didn't work out. So the second step is, can I fix it? Can I save the mistake by trading him for a player who has a chance to help this team immediately? And that's where I give him a high grade for doing that. I mean, if you look at it the other way, I think we had to give up 4 second-round picks. And then we gave up 2 players who don't play. You could argue, well, one of them should be, but the fact is neither of them play. For a guy who was averaging 15 points a game, shooting over 50%, and shooting 40 to 45% from 3, and who guards, and who is a wing, and who's strong and big. As far as I'm concerned, that's a hell of a trade. And that's how the best executives pivot. They don't stay so stubborn about, no, this is by God, this is the guy, and we're going to force this guy's, on your coach. He's saying, not going to work here. It's obvious at this point it's not going to work. He has value around the league enough to where we can get a player we want. It's a player who's on an expiring contract. So, obviously the Bulls knew they weren't going to get a lot. They may look at it as, all right, we've always liked this kid. We're not going anywhere, so we can throw him out there and play him through injuries and the rest of the season, maybe find out if he can be part of the future. Meantime, the Wolves get a player who is getting big-time minutes, who's immediately going to be in this rotation, who can handle the ball, may not be a pure point guard. I don't really think he is, but can occasionally do that, can certainly play off the ball, can score a little bit, can go downhill to the basket, and as I mentioned, guards. The closest thing they're going to get to Nikhil a year ago. He's gone. So what do? Do you wallow in it, or do you find a reasonable facsimile of what he represents? I'd say that's even more important now than last year, because last year you had DiVincenzo off the bench, you had Naz, and you had Nikhil. Yeah, this was easily 8 players deep. You could argue all of them capable of being starters. And this year, let's also face it, we were down to basically Naz on a consistent basis. So now you've given your starters, I think, a chip share and a chance with somebody who's just going to give you, I think, enough scoring and enough toughness. Remember, this team still has a tendency every once in a while to get lackadaisical about guarding. And I'm not saying he's going to become a leader on this team, although I think he kind of was with the Bulls. But maybe he can, because his approach is no nonsense and he guards all of the time. He only plays one way. Maybe that has some impact on some players who are kind of, in that regard, come and go. So I think it's an excellent move. It's not a dramatic move. He's not a player who's going to lift them to the title on his back, but he's going to lift the entire, he is going to help the rest of the best players, including Anthony Edwards, have the best chance to take the next step because they're getting some relief that right now they don't have, and that good teams have to have. And on Giannis, I applaud the effort to go after him. Who knows what the price, if the price would have been too much? It never got close enough, according to my sources, where the Bucks were very serious. I still think the Wolves will be in that mix in the offseason. But the fact of the matter is, it takes two to make a deal. And we can argue about whether the Wolves were going to give up too much. I don't know ultimately what they were going to get in return besides him, but it's moot at this point. So you got your core, and you've rewarded them with a guy who my guess is going to be energized himself because, let's face it, in Chicago, he's playing on a team that was going nowhere. They're just the middle of the pack. Okay, they win some, they lose some. Now he's in a pennant race, for God's sake. He's with a team that has a realistic chance to, at very least, make a run in the Western Conference. So, mistake on Dillingham? Yeah, it was a failure. There's no other way to put it. But at least you acknowledge it at some point. And in this case, you try to get something out of it. And to that extent, you could say the Wolves did not give up all that much in terms of value on their end at this point, given how little those two players were playing in the Wolves rotation. We'll come back and wrap up the controversial program, remind you of some podcast options for earlier in the show, and then turn it over to, is it Fan on Demand in the Air?
It is, and Wild Weekly after that.
Wild Week. Controversial. Do we know who the guests are?
Oh, always is.
Do you produce it?
I don't.
That's Fallness operation, or is it a Tenebee operation?
I think it's Tenebee, yeah.
Oh,
I did Fan on Demand, though. I'll tell you that.
Is it pretty good?
I think it's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Brought to you by American Pressure.
Outstanding lineup today included a bonus Johnny Athletic at 3:30 on the Wolves activity earlier this morning. In addition, right off the top of the show, well, meant to be top of the show, eventually got to him. Joe Colley had some phone issues, but we got to him. He covers the Bulls for the Chicago Sun-Times, and the good thing about Joe Colley is he minces no words. So he will tell you if he believes Ayo Dosunmu is overrated or not that good an acquisition. But he said just the opposite. Never, shall we say, shy with his analysis. He thinks, Joe Colley thinks that the Wolves made an excellent acquisition, loves him as a player, loves him as a clubhouse person. Mike Tice said a long time ago, Chicago's a tough guy town, and he's a tough guy. That's the way he plays, but he's got some talent to go with it, averaging 15 points a game. Great shooter as well, and still young enough that Johnny Athletic tells us, even though he's on an expiring contract, the plan is to keep him. That's the hope, and because of the Wolves acquiring him now, they get what his so-called Larry Bird rights, which means they can exceed the cap and still, when as they sign him, they're not limited in that regard. So I think an excellent recovery move. You could say consolation move. It's not spectacular in the sense that Greek Freak would be, but then you're back to what were you going to have to give up? In this case, you gave up two players who don't play and a bunch of second-round draft choices, which do now have some currency in the league, but I don't think are going to be all that significant to the Wolves' future. Also today, Andy Luger joined us in studio. We actually talked a little hockey with him. He went to see the Gopher men's team beat Wisconsin. I think it was Friday night. And he admitted, I think he was kind of ordered to go, but he went. And we got into some A-section material with him. That was between 4:30 and 5:30. And then a late 5:20 sports fix at 5:35, etc. Have you made your official? Is Guardsy in on Friday? Do you know, or is he off Friday too?
No, I'm in tomorrow.
You are in tomorrow.
Yep.
So you'll be doing the pick. Have you given early thoughts? Are you going with the chalk on, or you think the spread's a little bit too high? Are you considering going New England, or what's your early thinking?
I'm pretty torn. I mean, my gut says, I don't want either one of them to win. I don't like either one of the franchises. I think Seattle is probably the more complete team, but I don't know how well either one of the national narrative of Darnold can't handle the big lights, I think, is mostly dead. But This is the ultimate final boss test of that because the lights are never as bright as this.
No, that's true.
And same thing with Drake May is a complete stranger to this as well. So I would lean Seattle, but I don't really have strong feelings either which way.
I tend to think you're right. I would not be surprised. I guess I still don't trust either team enough to say that they can't lose. I think it's going to be one of those games where you know, New England should be the underdog, but I can see a couple of turnovers or a couple of Darnold interceptions where that tilts the balance the other way. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't think either team is great, but one of them is going to win the bowl, and that still is what should irk Vikings fans. It should irk Packers fans, too, because I don't think there's greatness out there, excuse me, right now. And I'm curious to know how much do you think there's great anticipation for this matchup? I'm not sure there is. I mean, it's the Super Bowl, so there's always anticipation. But I'm not sure this matchup will feel that sexy to people because Darnold is an interesting name, but he's kind of meandered. And the other guy is off to a great start, Drake May, and it's New England, but it's not Tom Brady New England. So I don't even know how I feel about, how much I'll watch it out of habit. And it might end up being a hell of a game, too. I wouldn't be surprised at that, but I don't know that there's it's one of those games where people are saying, I can't wait for this matchup.
I have some late-breaking Twins news as well.
Another trade?
No, they didn't sell anybody.
Another resignation?
No. Are you familiar with the World Baseball Classic? If you know what that is.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
International competition.
Yes.
And more established pros are taking part. Well, Team USA just unveiled their roster for this spring.
Yes.
Which includes...
Eight Twins?
I think 2.
Oh, okay.
From my early scan. Joe Ryan, which I think we knew early on that he was going to pitch for Team USA, but also in the outfield, Byron Buxton for Team USA. So competitive at-bats and not just, well, I don't care what the count is. I got to work on my change-ups. That's what I'm throwing them. They're actually trying to get them out. Also, Griffin Jacks made the team as well.
Interesting.
Twin.
Yeah,
so,
okay, there you go. Yeah.
A few Twins representations on Team USA.
Well, I noticed that Aaron Gleeman has not taken the advice of Tom Polad, who's basically said, I wish you guys would just talk about payroll. And what did he do? He compared, I think, the payroll of the Tigers starting rotation.
I have it.
Compared to the entire Twins payroll right now. Do you have it?
Yeah, so the Tigers starting rotation is worth $87 million. The entire Twins roster, $92 million. That's just laughable.
Truth cannot be controversial, as the late, great Flip Saunders said over and over again. So, Fan and a Man on the Air tonight, and then you mentioned Wild Weekly. That should be good. Heading into the break, another. We go into the break with a victory. We go in with momentum, and now we just cross our fingers that we don't suffer any debilitating or serious or season-ending injuries. Because, as you mentioned, Olympic hockey, they play for keeps. It's not an exhibition. Mm-hmm. So it's inevitable that some people are going to get hurt.
And Kaprizov is nice and safe.
Yeah, that's right.
Far away.
He's not in Russia,
Italy.
Is he?
I hope not.
I don't want him to be back there right now, I don't think. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, texting, etc. And we will talk to you tomorrow beginning at 3 o'clock right here on The Fan.
That is a nice package.
Sorry, KFAN.